Good afternoon. I'm Tyler Oliveri, and I'm joined by my colleagues Bernard Pawlowski, Jillian Schulder, Matthew Sharoma, and Muhammad Rush. We're excited to present to you today on a critical supply challenge faced by Bombardier, sourcing the production and manufacturing of the front substructure of the A220 commercial plane. As you'll hear about today, this is not your average supply issue, although there rarely are simple supply questions in the production of commercial jet. This is more than a bolt or a screw or just a fan blade. We're talking today about the front substructure. A successful production of the A220 turns in large part on making the right decision for who should supply this critical component. I'm going to turn to my colleague Mohammed, who's going to walk you through why this component is so critical and why this is a particularly important time for Bombardier and its procurement director, Julie Pierron, to make the right call.
Thank you, Tyler. Let's break down what it means when we talk about the front substructure and why it's critical to the A220 program. Think of the aircraft as a body. The front substructure functions like the skeleton for the plane's head, the nose section that houses the cockpit. It's where everything begins: pilot seat, controls, pedals, instrument panels, and communication systems all connect to this foundation. That dependency means precision is non-negotiable. If the substructure is even a few millimeters off, the entire cockpit assembly is compromised. Wiring may not be aligned, panels will not fit properly, and control systems may not mount as designed. Once that happens, the production line halts and cost escalates rapidly. Accuracy alone is not enough. Timing is equally critical. If this part is delayed, every subsequent stage, including engineering, testing, and final delivery, is also delayed. In commercial aviation, each day of delay represents millions of lost revenue, along with potential penalties for missed delivery dates. Complexity adds another layer of challenge. This is not a standard part that can be easily sourced from multiple vendors. It demands specialized production capabilities, rigorous quality control, and a supplier with proven reliability. So for Bombardier, the challenge is clear. They must secure a supplier that can consistently deliver at scale and on time. Getting that front substructure wrong does not just create a rework, it undermines the credibility of the entire A220 program. Now, as if that weren't enough of a challenge, Bombardier and its procurement director, Julie Pierron, are facing this decision at a very difficult time. The headwinds are strong. The A220 program as a whole is already behind schedule, and the front substructure, which we just established as critical, is also delayed. On top of that, Bombardier has more than 360 pre-orders already on the books. These are not just numbers on a paper. They're commitments to airlines with strict delivery timelines. Every delay puts those 360 orders at risk, along with the possibility of securing future contracts. To put this in perspective, delays are common in the commercial aircraft industries. Delivering late is almost always expected. But in this case, Bombardier does not have the luxury of being late. This is not just another program. This is their flagship product in a highly competitive market. Every misstep is magnified by competitors and scrutinized by customers. The track record only makes matters worse. Their first supplier, DLR, performed so poorly that Bombardier was forced to terminate the contract after a site visit. That failure cost valuable time and money. A second mistake would not just hurt the A220 program. It could be fatal for Pierron's credibility and Bombardier's future in the narrow body market. Financial pressure adds another layer of risk. Bombardier requires a government bailout just to keep the A220 alive. That bailout raised doubts among investors, customers, and the public. The later decision to sell a majority stake in the program to Airbus was also controversial. Was it a smart partnership or a desperate move to stay afloat? Those doubts still linger and weigh heavily on Bombardier's reputation. At the same time, cash flow remains as a pressing concern. Aircraft production is a capital intensive and delays drain liquidity. Bombardier's leadership knows that they cannot afford another setback. If they stumble again, even Airbus's involvement may not be enough to restore this confidence. The stakes could not be higher. If Pierron chooses the wrong supplier, the A220 risks losing credibility permanently. If she chooses the right one, Bombardier has a chance to restore trust, deliver on its backlog, and finally turn the A220 into a success story it is designed to be. This decision is not just operational, it's strategic and existential. With that context, I'll turn it over to my colleague Bernard, who is going to walk through the options and how Bombardier should evaluate them.
Thank you, Mohammed. Here, Bombardier and Perron have 5 different options for how to source the front substructure. First, Bombardier can keep it 100% in-house. This involves the highest per unit production cost at $220,269, but an investment of $660,000 in tooling over the next 12 months will facilitate a 2 to 3% reduction in those costs over the next 3 years. For our purposes, we'll assume a midpoint of 2.5% in cost reductions in 21 to 23. Second, Bombardier could consider DLR, the first supplier that it terminated. DLR is located in Germany and it offers a graduated per unit production cost with the bulk of the units, those from 104 up to 1500, at $170,877, plus about $40,000 in initial parts. DLR will also require $3.75 million in tooling and transition costs of $603,000 in the year before production, $137,000 in the first year, and then $32,500 thereafter. Third, Bombardier could use PMP, a supplier that has previously focused on rail parts for Bombardier. PMP is located in Poland and offers the best per unit pricing at $164,780 for units 3 through 1500. Like DLR, there are about $40,000 in initial parts requirements, and like DLR, there is a tooling expense, although lower at $3 million. PMP is new to aviation, and thus its transition cost is greater than that of DLR at $600,000 in the year prior, but $493,950 in year 1, and then $56,000 in year 2 through 10. Another option would be a hybrid sourcing model with Bombardier producing 33% and PMP producing 67%. The per unit cost for this option will depend on the total volume, but assuming the forecast of 1,124 units, the cost per unit is approximately $179,000. Here, tooling costs can be reduced by 30% while still maximizing the number of units produced by PMP at the much cheaper per unit cost. This approach, however, still involves the same transition costs. Lastly, Bombardier could split outsourcing 50-50 between DLR and PMP. There are various allocations that are possible, and the heavier the weight towards PMP, the lower the cost given PMP's lower per unit production price. But for purposes of this option, we'll assume 50-50, as that provides the greatest flexibility if there is an interruption in one supplier. This option involves the full tooling and full transition costs for each. With these options in mind, we now consider how to evaluate them. There are a myriad of factors that might be relevant, including everything from cost to financial solvency to leadership structure and more. Based on the information available here, however, and Bombardier's priorities with respect to the supply of this front structure, we focus on 4. First, cost is always important. Here, the cost will include tooling, production cost per unit, as well as parts supplier by Bombardier, and transition costs for outsourcing options. Second, cash flow. Cost alone doesn't tell the full financial picture, as when those costs are incurred can vary slightly. Bombardier management has prioritized improving cash flow in the immediate, so it is important to look at cash flow effects in the immediate coming years. Third, quality and technical experience. Put simply, does each supplier know how to build a complicated front substructure? Do they specialize in aviation production, or is this new to them? If they have aviation experience, what is the quality of their prior work? As discussed by my colleague Mohammed, this is a critical component with exacting requirements. Quality is critical. Lastly, reliability of supply. There are already 360 pre-orders to be filled, and Bombardier forecasts 1,124 total planes over the next decade. Producing quality components is only a piece of the puzzle. The supplier needs to do so reliably, on time, without interruption, and with the flexibility to adjust to changes in demand. There are numerous factors that might affect the reliability of the supply. Production internationally poses different risks than production domestically. Indeed, the specific country itself, even within Europe, can present difficult challenges. Location matters. The supplier's transportation and logistics system, how it communicates with Bombardier on orders and production, import and export compliance, tariffs, potential economic and potential political changes, and even the stability of the supplier itself are all relevant. My colleague Matthew will discuss how each option fits these criteria.
Thank you, Bernard. We will start with total cost and cash flow. Using the unit forecast by year, we can perform a true apples to apples comparison, beginning with pre-production cost in 2018 and going through 10 years of production from 2019 to 2028. As you'll note, Bombardier is significantly more expensive than PMP or DLR. Those outsourcing options are approximately 190 and 199 million respectively. At about 195 million on average for outsourcing, Bombardier is nearly 20% costlier. A 50-50 split between the outsourcing options, PMP and DLR, is about $200 million. Interestingly, a hybrid approach keeping 1/3 of production in-house with Bombardier and having PMP, the lowest cost outsourcing option, cover the remaining 2/3 is only slightly higher at $205 million. As my colleague Jillian will discuss shortly, the benefits of multiple suppliers might warrant that additional cost. Total cost only tells half the financial story, however. When you dive into the cash flow by year, you'll notice significant differences, especially in the early years. A split between the two outsource options involves significantly greater outward cash flow pre-production in 2018 and in the first year of production in 2019. That is due primarily to tooling and transition costs. Notably, however, a hybrid option offers a more beneficial cash flow path. In 2018, it has the lowest outflow of cash. In 2019, is less than in-house sourcing, and in 2020 is only 9% higher than PMP. Beginning in 2021, the cash flow difference is relatively minor for all options other than insourcing. Thus, we can focus the cash flow analysis on 2018, 19, and 20. With that time frame in mind, a hybrid option is particularly attractive as compared to the other options. Turning to quality and reliability. Here, we will examine each of the three individual options, as any split or hybrid is simply a combination of them. Although these assessments and rankings are subjective, they are based on concrete information provided by each supplier. Here, there are three key takeaways. First, as expected, in-house production by Bombardier provides the highest quality and reliability. When sales and procurement can pick up the phone or walk across the factory to production, you have the highest level of coordination and communication. When the front substructure can be produced in one part of the facility, you effectively eliminate concerns about transportation, import-export, tariffs, and other legal and regulatory challenges. Moreover, this is Bombardier's core business, aviation. Others might be able to do it cheaper, but no one will be able to produce a higher quality front substructure for Bombardier than Bombardier. And Bombardier will be the most flexible. It can divert resources from other aviation programs when and if necessary, based on the needs of the A220 program. Second, although PMP is a relative unknown in the aviation manufacturing space, it is well known to Bombardier on rail production. They are surely different, and the front substructure is more complex, but PMP is a known entity with a history of quality production. Producing in Poland, however, poses certain risks with respect to reliability. Presumably, PMP and Bombardier already have a strong communication network from their rail relationship, but Poland still poses transportation hurdles. Transporting large front substructures across the Atlantic is not the same as rail components. Also, PMP is attractive because of its much lower cost of labor, but that could change with the political climate or pressure from the EU. That said, PMP is looking to grow its work with Bombardier, and that favors PMP prioritizing consistent supply, even if it faces internal challenges. Lastly, DLR is ranked the lowest. A deep dive into German manufacturing, its more robust infrastructure, stable government, and higher GDP as compared to Poland would normally be appropriate when evaluating the two outsourcing options. Here, however, DLR's prior history is dispositive. It has previously failed to perform on this very program for the component in question. DLR has already faced quality deficiencies and delays. Although management claims it has resolved other projects and can better focus on this program with strong performance going forward, that argument actually militates further against DLR. If DLR was under-resourced and distracted before, it could happen again, and the front substructure might face the same quality and reliability issues that precipitated its termination in the first place. As Jillian will discuss in the following slide, these prior quality and reliability failures effectively eliminate DLR as an option.
Thanks, Matt. Here there are a number of risks and concerns that Bombardier and Perion face. Fortunately, there are mitigation strategies available. First, cost is obviously a concern. Although the total cost of the program over the first 10 years of production might only differ 10% between some options, that might be $20 million. Even for a company as big as Bombardier, that matters. Looking at this factor on its own, that means sourcing as much as possible with PMP or DLR, as their per unit costs are the lowest. As reflected by the financial analysis, the per unit cost is the biggest driver of total cost, far outweighing tooling or transition costs. Second, cash flow, particularly in the immediate, is a priority. Here, DLR and a split sourcing with DLR and PMP as exclusive suppliers are significantly worse than other options. Avoid them. Instead, consider in-house sourcing or a hybrid approach with PMP. Although PMP is unattractive from a cash flow perspective as a single supplier, when paired with Bombardier, it offers an acceptable balance due to the reduced tooling costs. Third, quality is key. Here, that means excluding DLR off the bat. They have already failed at producing this very component with the necessary quality. Producing some volume in-house also mitigates quality concerns. Bombardier has the experience, and although they are the costliest, they are the most likely to guarantee the best quality. Moreover, using multiple suppliers is an option. That can go both ways. Using two different suppliers means two totally different operations that could give rise to quality issues, but it also gives Bombardier two sources. If one is failing, the other can fill the gap, and knowledge can also be shared to get the other up to spec. Fourth, reliable supply. Again, this means excluding DLR given its prior delays on this very program. It also warrants maintaining some production in-house and using multiple suppliers. This will mitigate some of the international risks associated with a foreign supplier, and it will also avoid putting all their eggs in one basket. Unexpected interruptions are a significant concern. Studies show that corporations routinely underestimate the possibility and ramifications of unexpected interruptions. Wars, hurricanes, pandemics, container ships stuck in canals, and other unanticipated interruptions will happen. Here, keeping some production in-house, which avoids transportation risks, is a way to mitigate some of those risks. Using multiple suppliers also provides cover if an unexpected interruption is regional or country-specific. Lastly, there is a considerable reputational element in play here. Public perception is in doubt given the government bailout to save this program, and there are questions about Bombardier's decision to sell the C-Series to Airbus. Those concerns, coupled with the termination of the first supplier, put Bombardier and Perion at risk. Perion likely will not survive another mistake. Here, that requires eliminating DLR as an option. One failure and termination can happen, but rehiring the same supplier and encountering another failure will be inexcusable. Moreover, keeping some production in-house will also give Bombardier a chance to gain back some ground. Successful in-house production will help confirm Bombardier's ability to manufacture the A220 for Airbus, but also take on other programs and components. Taking all factors into consideration, particularly Bombardier's most time-sensitive concerns and risks, the best approach is a hybrid option with 1/3 of volume produced in-house and 2/3 produced by PMP. It is significantly less expensive than 100% in-house production, and it provides very attractive cash flow benefits, particularly in 2018 and 2019. Although it is more expensive than just using PMP, the benefits of dual sourcing outweigh that differential, particularly when a portion of that supply remains in-house, offering maximum flexibility, control, and coordination between sales, procurement, and the factory. With so much at stake, both at a corporate and personal level, Bombardier and Perion would be well advised to take back some control over the supply. In other words, trust yourself to do it right. That needs to still be balanced, however, against cost and the risks of single supply. Here, Bombardier can have the best of both worlds with a hybrid approach. A hybrid approach also provides flexibility going forward. If PMP supply is high quality, on time, reliable, and continues to be cheaper per unit, Bombardier can shift more production in that direction. This could be particularly important if the A220 is even more popular than Bombardier forecasts, because greater per unit savings over a larger volume will yield even greater profit margins. There is no question that the A220 has stumbled out of the starting blocks, but many of those issues are behind us. The A220 is poised to do more than get off the ground. It has the opportunity to soar. All it takes is making the right supply decision here. A hybrid approach is that right decision. Thank you again for your time, and we look forward to answering any questions.